Those are some pretty amazing speakers. Welcome to our home. I want to share with you an idea. And the idea is that it takes deep, lifelong commitment to simply understand ourselves, to then be able to find and bring to the world our best, most authentic self, which then allows us to have the impact on the world that we are most uniquely capable of bringing, which I'd argue is core to our purpose for even being here on Earth. And so, aligning with our core purpose in life all starts with developing self-awareness. And so what I thought I would do is share part of my journey of self-awareness with you in the hopes that it encourages you to commit or recommit to your own journey. This part of my journey starts 6 years ago in 2010, and I was living in Poland with my beautiful wife, who's also here. Where's my beautiful wife? Kasia, somewhere. There she is. And I was working for Hewlett-Packard, who had just bought our startup called Opsware a few years before, and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do next in my career. And it was particularly challenging for me because I had a pretty varied background. I'd built sales organizations, services organizations, engineering teams. And so I was stuck with this idea of like, well, who am I professionally? And I was defining I as a set of skills and experiences. I was defining I in an extrinsic sense. And so it wasn't until I had this pivot of like, well, what do you actually care about? You care about the intrinsic stuff. You care about your deepest passions. You care about what are your core values. You care about what is it that you're most gifted in, your core capabilities. And when I shifted from caring about the extrinsic I to the intrinsic I, everything seemed to get easier. The pressure let up, the anxiety faded. And shortly after that, I found this job here at AppNexus. And my wife and I packed up our bags. We moved from Poland to New York to start here as our vice president of global services, employee number 28, early in a hot startup. Everything was amazing. Until it wasn't, really quickly, actually. It was the hardest professional year of my life. And a lot of that is because I was pretty darn certain that our CEO, Brian O'Kelly, thought I was a frickin' idiot. And I couldn't work through it. And so we got this executive coach, Professor Bob, and I had this session. I sat down with Professor Bob, and he's gonna help me figure out my relationship with Brian. And the session was fine, and I went home. I opened my notebook, I was getting back to work, and I found this piece of paper that wasn't mine. It was Professor Bob's. And it was clearly about a meeting he had with Brian immediately before he talked to me, and it was Brian's thoughts about me. Brian said 3 things about me. First, he said, best manager in the company. Hey, I'm feeling pretty good. Next thing he said was stubborn. Not feeling so good. Third thing he said was not smart. Fuck. What do you do? Like, painful year, not really working out so well. The CEO thinks I'm not smart. How do you survive? And to make it worse, it hurt real bad because it touched a nerve. It touched a really deep nerve. See, many years before, my mom, who's generally amazing mom, very well-intentioned, said to me, she goes, Brandy, that's what she calls me, Brandy, your brother is really smart. And you work really hard. And so it occurred to me, like, and like thinking about this letter from Brian, it sort of occurred to me that like I've adopted that as a sense of self. I'm the guy who works really hard. And you know what? You better work really hard because if you don't have anything else because you're not smart. And so I'm confronting this with Brian, thinking, Jesus Christ, what do I do? What do I do? Should I quit? I just don't know what to do. And so finally, a couple days later, I take that letter from Professor Bob, I bring it to the stove in the kitchen, and I burn the damn thing. And I burned it for 2 reasons. The first one is I just sort of reflected back. I said, look, do I believe this job, the thing I'm doing day in and day out, 12 hours a day, is aligned with my core passions, what I'm most gifted in, my core capabilities, and my values? Do I believe it is? And the answer was clearly yes. And so I said, if it is, you just have to believe that in life, when you're aligned, you might have to go through really painful adversity, but it'll work out in the end. Plow through it. And the second thing is, I was thinking about this tape recording in the back of my head. You're not smart. You're not smart. You're not smart. And I thought, like, maybe I need to go through this. Maybe this is an opportunity to face something that's been holding me back. Maybe Brian O'Kelly, who thinks I'm not smart, is actually a gift. Because it's my chance to figure out how to come past it. And so I stayed. And two really big shifts happened after that. The first shift was things started to work out at work, actually. About 3 months later, Brian went on vacation. He came back and he said, Brandon, I've been thinking, I want to tell you I'm sorry. I have been an asshole. I thank you for not quitting, and I want you to know I've got your back. From there, we went on to build an amazing 180-person global services organization, which I left a year ago to take this job as Chief People Officer at AppNexus. It worked out. And there was a second shift that happened, which is I realized that simply by acknowledging this is a fear of mine and setting the intention to let it go, it gradually faded away. And so through self-awareness, what you find is you can identify through self-awareness of what's holding you back, and self-awareness of what's driving you forward is how you grow. And I'd like to close with how I contextualize that in my role at AppNexus. As Chief People Officer, I fundamentally believe it is part of my core job to make this a place where employees can truly envision and align with their passions, values, and capabilities. And I believe it's actually a business imperative because through self-awareness comes personal growth. Through personal growth comes great employee performance. Through employee performance, we have great products, great services, and great revenue. And through that, AppNexus can achieve its mission of creating a better internet. So even creating a better internet all starts with developing self-awareness. Thank you.